My name is Arden Vale, and I make jewelry that remembers how to breathe. I'm 27, and my studio is a sunburned garage behind a rented adobe on the east side of Santa Fe. Mornings taste like cold coffee and flux. The air smells like pinon smoke and polished metal. When I open the door, the high desert light floods in and turns every speck of silver dust into a galaxy. It's late October. The aspens have already thrown their gold confetti in the mountains, and the tourists in big hats still wander Canyon Road with paper cups of green Chile stew, pointing at coyotes carved from wood and paintings that glow like sunsets. I make pieces that come from this place. Sterling cuffs hammered with rain patterns, little pendants shaped like thunderheads, stones I buy from old men at the flea market who know the stories of every vein they pried from the earth. I stamp each piece with a tiny thunderbolt and my initials AV on the back. The thunderbolt is mine. It was my mother's first, a doodle she carved into the picnic table with a butter knife the summer she left. I found it years later, under a coat of varnish, and traced it into my fingers. It's the one thing I took when everything else felt like someone else's. That's the setting. That's me. Now here's the wound. 3 months ago, a boutique opened on San Francisco Street called High Noon. Minimalist, concrete floors. A neon sign by the register that says, "Stay Gold." The owner is a woman named Calista, long tan limbs, glossy auburn hair, a smile that knows it's about to be photographed. She introduced herself at an art walk with a glass of rosé and a compliment that felt like a hook. "I love your whole vibe," she said, eyes skating over my table. "Let's talk consignment. Our clientele would die for these." We set a meeting. She picked out 10 of my best-selling pieces. We shook hands. Her perfume left a trail of bergamot and something I couldn't place, like wet cement. For a couple weeks, I floated. The store tagged me on Instagram. My follower count ticked up. I convinced myself this was momentum, not a trap. Then, in mid-September, a customer named Lydia messaged me. "Hey, so I bought one of your storm pendants at High Noon, but the chain snapped after 2 days. Can you fix it?" I stared at the screen. "I don't sell my pieces with chains like that." I texted back. "Can you send a pic?" She did. I zoomed in. The pendant looked wrong. The silver was too bright, too thin. The edges were soft, like it had been cast from a mold and sanded in a hurry. And on the back, there it was, my thunderbolt and AV. Except the A sagged like a drooping eyelid. My chest went cold. "Where's your receipt?" I wrote. She sent a photo. "High Noon Boutique, authentic local design," it said beneath the logo. The price was double what I charge. I called the store. "High Noon, this is Calista," she chirped. "Hey, it's Arden. We have a problem." Silence, then a sigh that turned the air brittle. "If this is about that one piece, listen, our suppliers." Suppliers? I felt heat climb my neck. "You got those from me." "We licensed your designs," she said, like we were discussing yoga classes. "It's industry standard. We had to scale up your production, can't meet demand. People want your look." "My look," I repeated. My hand shook. My hammer lay on the bench like it understood rage. "It's a compliment," she added. "And we're absolutely crediting you. The tiny stamp is your signature, right? We added that so it's consistent." "You forged my stamp." "Forged is a strong word," she said softly, as if coaxing a dog away from a cliff. "This is a partnership, Arden. We're elevating your brand." I swallowed a laugh that tasted like metal. "Take them off the shelves," I said. "Today." "Sweetheart," she said, and the word landed like spit. "I have rent to pay." I hung up. My ears roared. The studio, usually my safe place, seemed suddenly too small, too bright. The desert outside became a flat, endless studio audience. I pressed my palms to the workbench and listened to my breath scrape. I told myself to be logical, to make lists. What I knew. High Noon was selling fakes. Calista had cast my designs in cheaper silver, maybe even plated base metal. She'd stamped my mark. She was doubling the price. Customers thought they were buying the real thing. My name was attached to things that would break. What I felt. Fury like a sunstroke. Embarrassment, because I'd wanted the boutique's shine. Doubt, because who was I to go up against someone with neon signs and a marketing team? I needed proof. So I went to high noon. It was late afternoon, and the light licked the adobe buildings with that syrupy honey that makes tourists buy art they can't afford. Inside, the AC hummed. The place smelled like eucalyptus and money. My pieces, my not pieces, hung on a blonde wood display next to a potted snake plant. "Can I help you find anything?" the salesgirl asked. She had a silk scarf in her hair and a yawn she hid behind a peach-glossed hand. "I'm just looking," I said, like a wolf poking its nose inside a henhouse. I picked up a cuff. It was lighter than mine, and the hammer marks were repetitive, perfect little clones. They'd cast my texture. The audacity. The edges were rounded in the wrong places. Inside, the stamp. Av. Thunderbolt. Tilted. I took out my phone and took a photo. The salesgirl didn't blink. "Those are some of our best sellers," she said. "Authentic designs by a local artist." I looked her in the eyes. "Do you know who made them?" She tilted her head. "High Noon Designs." I placed the cuff back, like it might contaminate me. When I walked out, the plaza's wind felt different. There's a flavor to betrayal, like biting into a green chile that looks mild and discovering it hides a ghost pepper. Back in my studio, I lined up my real pieces and the fake I'd bought with my emergency cash. Under the loop, the lies became topography. The pores in the cast metal. The seam line, the cheap chain soldered jump ring, grainy where it should be smooth. I filmed everything. My hands in frame, voice steady, explaining what to look for. The thunderbolt stamp, mine sharp, theirs drooping. The weight, the way real silver warms in your hand. I recorded the sound of a real chain when it slips across a tabletop, pure, like a bell. The fake sounded like dropping paper clips. "Santa Fe isn't a chain store," I said to the camera. "It's a heartbeat, and you don't fake a heartbeat." I deleted that last line. It sounded like a movie trailer. I wanted anger, not melodrama. I posted nothing. I set the phone down and stared at the screen, the half-edited video open, the thumbnail a frozen frame of my fingers holding two thunderbolts. And then, my phone buzzed. An email slid into my inbox from a law firm in Albuquerque. Subject line: cease and desist. I opened it with the dull curiosity of someone watching a dust devil approach. "Dear Miss Vale," it read in menacing italics that weren't actually italics. "It has come to our attention that you are defaming High Noon Boutique by making false statements regarding the authenticity of our products, which are produced under license. Any further communication on your part will be considered actionable. You are hereby directed to remove any and all defamatory statements and refrain from contact with our staff. Sincerely, Vaughn and Liddell." Under license. I laughed so hard I choked. Then I cried in this hiccuping way that made my ribs hurt. I swore. I paced the length of the studio until the concrete floor mapped my footsteps. Under license. I hadn't signed anything. I'd scribbled my name on a consignment form that might as well have been toilet paper. My knuckles went white against the workbench. I wanted to storm the boutique and pour acetone over every chain until the plating peeled like gold nail polish. But the law is a different kind of desert. Looks empty, hides snakes. I called my friend Maya, a metalsmith who teaches at the community college and has the patience of a canyon. "You need to document, not detonate," she said. "She wants you to blow up so she can call you unstable. You need to be surgical." "I have a video," I said. "I can show side by side." "Good. And get receipts." "She probably used a casting house. If they used your stamp, that's counterfeit. That's federal." Her voice steadied me like a hand on my spine. When we hung up, dusk had turned the studio lavender. I turned on the lamps, and their yellow circles made islands on the bench. I picked up my mother's hammer. The handle is stained smooth from years of palms. I remembered her teaching me to tap, not pound. To listen for the moment the metal gives, a small surrender. I breathed. I wrote a list on a yellow legal pad. Buy more fakes, get them tested. Find the casting house. Talk to other artists High Noon carries. Document everything. Don't post until it's airtight. Find someone bigger than me to help push this. Someone bigger than me. I opened Instagram, thumb hovering over search. Influencers. People with faces like billboards and voices that turn product into prophecy. I hated the thought of needing them. I also hated watching customers like Lydia waste money on my name. I typed authenticity test into the search bar, not sure what I was even looking for. My phone pulsed again. This time, it was a DM. From @MelinaMakesBlueCheck, 500,000 followers, known for calling out dupes in the fashion world and making stores cry with a 60-second video. Hey, the message read. Someone sent me your story. Heard a boutique in Santa Fe is counterfeiting your line. You down to talk? I stared at the screen. The room felt suddenly full of static. If I said yes, there was no going back. If I said no, High Noon would keep selling lies with my thunderbolt branded on the back like a bruise. Outside, a coyote yipped. In the last light, the mountains looked like shoulders. I typed one word. Absolutely. I hit send. And then, from the corner of my desk, the fake pendant slid off the edge and hit the floor. A hairline crack split the thunderbolt in two. I lifted it, weighed the broken halves in my palm, and realized Calista hadn't just copied my work. She'd stolen my signature and taught it to lie. My phone buzzed again, Melina, asking for a call in 10 minutes, and headlights spilled across my studio window. Someone had pulled into my driveway. I wasn't expecting anyone. The car engine cut. Footsteps crunched on gravel. A silhouette paused at the door. A knock. Hard. Confident. Arden? A woman's voice called through the wood. Open up, we should talk. I recognized the perfume before the name. Bergamot. Wet cement. Calista. I didn't open right away. I slid my phone to record, tucked it on a shelf, and wiped my palms on my jeans. My heart ran a lap around my ribs. Another knock. 3 hard thuds. Arden, she said, like we were friends and not opposite ends of a fuse. I know you're in there. I opened the door. Calista smiled without showing teeth. Glossed lips, hair sleek enough to slice paper. She wore an oatmeal blazer and white sneakers like a commercial for money. Can we talk? She asked. It'll be easier in person. No, I said, and stepped into the doorway so she couldn't see my bench. But we will anyway. Outside. She glanced past me at the studio, taking inventory with a single swipe. Cute space. Get to it. She sighed, like I was making her late for Pilates. My lawyers sent you a cease and desist. I'm here because I prefer a personal touch. We can make this work. You stamped my mark onto junk, I said. You took my designs, cast them in cheap metal, and doubled the price. She tilted her head. Allegedly. God, that word. Arden, she continued, dropping her voice into something confidential. Santa Fe is ripe. People want authenticity, packaged clean. They want the story without the mess. You make great mess. Let me handle the packaging. You mean theft. Optimization, she said. You're drowning at your bench. I'm offering you a raft. A moth head butted the porch light. My jaw ached from clenching. Here's the deal, she said, like she was setting down a menu. We license your top 3 designs: storm pendant, rain cuff, thunderbolt studs. We produce at volume, you get a percentage, your name on the card, and a monthly feature on our socials. We'll clean up this little misunderstanding. You forged my stamp, I said again. There's no deal. She looked past me at the hammer hanging on its peg. Her smile thinned. I hope you know what you're doing, she said. Because if you go public with your little conspiracy, my lawyer will make you wish you'd taken the check. At the word check, something sharpened in my chest. How much? I asked. She blinked. Excuse me? How much were you going to license back to me? Enough to cover my rent? My materials? My time? She studied me like I was a puzzle with 3 missing pieces. 5%, she said finally. More than generous. 5% for my thunderbolt. I laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. You should know, she added, fingernails drumming her phone case. The casting house we use has paperwork. It says we designed those pieces in-house. If you come for me, you'll look like the copycat. I haven't signed anything, I said. You signed a consignor's agreement, she replied. That form had language. To consign 10 handmade pieces, I said. Not to turn my work into plasticware. She shrugged. Lawyers will sort it. Or we can save everyone time. And you can say thank you. The moth thumped the light again, desperate and stupid. Are we done? I asked. She exhaled through her nose, looked up at the night like she was asking for patience, then met my eyes. We're never done, babe, she said, and turned on her heel. She left a thin perfume of bergamot and wet cement, like a signature in the air. I shut the door and waited until the headlights dissolved down the street before stopping the recording. My phone buzzed immediately. Melina. Hey, she said when I answered, voice bright, the background a swirl of city noise. I'm in New York, but I grew up in Albuquerque, so this is personal. Tell me everything. I did, pacing the studio, touching each tool like a talisman. I told her about the fake cuffs, the limp thunderbolt, the cast texture trying to impersonate my hammer. Okay, she said, in that crisp influencer cadence that cuts through noise. I can help. Two things. 1. We'll do a blind test with creators, real versus fake, weight, sound, scratch. 2. We'll run an XRF on both to read the metal composition. An XRF? I asked. It's a handheld spectrometer, she said. Gunsight thing. Jewelers use it to verify metal content. I can source one. My mind sprinted, tripping over the possibilities. And then what? We post, not a rant, a tutorial. We show people how to spot the tells. We don't say high noon until we're bulletproof. When we do, we tag local press, small business accounts, lawyers who handle IP. We make noise people have to hear. I stared at the fake pendant cracked in my palm. Let's do it, I said. Love your fire, she replied. I'll assemble 5 creators who aren't afraid of backlash. They'll each run the test simultaneously. That's what makes it viral. Multiple angles, same message. I need more fakes, I said, and real ones. Get 3 of each, she said. Document the purchase. Keep packaging. You'll be surprised what packaging gives away. We made a list. Again. We scheduled a Zoom for the next afternoon. She connected me to a science YouTuber named Theo, who apparently owns an XRF. He's a nerd, she said fondly. And he's fast. After I hung up, I texted Maya. It's happening. She replied with a thunderbolt emoji. Then, be careful. I drove to high noon the next morning with sunglasses and a hoodie, feeling like a discount spy. I bought a storm pendant and 2 cuffs. The salesgirl scanned them with bored efficiency. Busy day? I asked. Always, she said, then added, like she'd been coached. People love authentic. I kept the bags, the receipt, the branded tissue with Stay Gold printed in teeny letters. Back in the studio, I set everything under good light. I weighed them on the digital scale. I filmed the unboxing like a makeup tutorial. I slid the chain across the bench and listened for that paperclip chorus. I found a microscopic seam under the bezel that made my stomach knot. Theo joined the Zoom from a room with a telescope and a cat that looked like a scientist. XRF's ready, he said, lifting a gray device that resembled a radar gun. Ship me 1 real and 1 fake, overnight. I'll record live. Also, if you can, rub both with a silver polishing cloth and show the residue. Plated brass leaves a different stain. People love visual proof. We were building an arsenal. Chemistry, sound, light. A better story than neon signs. That afternoon, Melina messaged me a spreadsheet. Creators. At Metal Mama Austin. At Fact Snack Theo NYC. At Desert Goods Phoenix. At Jules Jewel LA. At Shelf Life Chicago. Release window. Thursday. 10 a.m. Mount. Hashtags. Number Know Your Metal. Number Authenticity Test. Number Support Real Makers. It looked like a battle plan. I reached out to other artists High Noon carried. A silversmith named Rocco texted back within minutes. Yep, he wrote. They licensed my sunburst cuff too. Except I never agreed. Can we talk? We did, and his story echoed mine, a friendly pitch, a consignment, then a sea of in-house designs that looked suspiciously like his. Casting house? I asked. Santa Rosa Casting, he said. They do fast work for boutiques. Ask for Diego. He hates his boss. A lead. I called Santa Rosa Casting, as the sky inked itself purple. A receptionist put me on hold long enough to make me memorize the entire loop. Finally, a tired voice came on. Diego. I'm an artist, I said. My designs were cast without permission. I think you made them. Silence, a breath. Then a low, careful, not over the phone. I'm not trying to burn you, I said. I'm trying to stop her. She brings us waxes modeled off photos, he said, voice dropping. Says the designer's on board. We stamp what she gives us. The Thunderbolt? He hesitated. If someone hands me a stamp, I stamp. Can we meet? I asked. Tomorrow, he said. 8 m, Juan Tabo Park. Bring coffee. He hung up. I slept a few hours, dreams full of thunderheads that cracked open to reveal neon signs. Dawn dragged me out by the ankles. I packed the real and fake pieces for Theo. I printed labels. I tucked the receipts into a folder. I watched the clock speed run to 8 and left with 2 coffees in a cardboard caddy. Juan Tabo Park smelled like wet dirt and soccer moms. Diego sat on a bench in a navy hoodie, eyes darting. He took the coffee like it was a confession. She told us it was all above board, he said, hands cupping the heat. She pays cash. Always rush. Always the same note on the work order. Add AV mark. Do you still have the work orders? He nodded. We keep everything. Boss doesn't know I'm meeting you. He will kill me. I just need photos, I said. Proof of instruction. I can blur names. He exhaled, a thread of white in the cool morning. I'll text you tonight. I gave him a thunderbolt cuff. A real one. For your girlfriend, I said. Or for you. He smiled, quick and shy. She'll cry. When I got back to the studio, the front gate was open. I always close it. Always. My stomach did that old carnival drop. I pushed the door and stepped inside, holding my breath like it could protect me. Nothing looked wrong, at first. Then I saw the bench. The drawer with my stamp was open. Empty. My stamp, the tiny steel thunderbolt my mother's hands had ghosted into mine, the one I'd pressed into the backs of hundreds of pieces like a whisper, was gone. On the bench, a post-it. Neon. Cute. A single word in block letters, neat as a ruler. Enough. My phone buzzed in my back pocket. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. A familiar, pleasant voice. Arden, Calista said. Have you reconsidered? I stared at the empty drawer, the post-it glaring like a bruise. I swallowed the metal taste and said, actually, yes, I did. I clicked the studio deadbolt behind me. Great, she purred. Let's be sensible. I want to make a deal, I said, walking to the back room, heart pounding hard enough to make sentences tremble. Pause. I'm listening, she said. I opened the back closet and pulled out a second, older stamp. The practice one my mother and I made years ago from a junkyard bolt. Not perfect, but brutal. The thunderbolt's edges bit into my palm. I pressed it into a blank oval of silver on my bench, hard enough to leave a promise. Then I looked at the neon post-it, and an idea slammed into place with such force it made me dizzy. First, I said into the phone, I need you to come to a little event on Thursday morning. What event? Calista asked, suspicion curling the words. An authenticity test, I said softly. Live. With an audience. Dead air. Then, you wouldn't. Oh, I said, smiling at the raw new stamp mark cooling on the metal. Watch me. I hung up, and as the silence settled, a shadow moved outside the frosted studio window. Not Calista. Broader shoulders. A camera lifted. The lens stared back like an unblinking eye. A flash. The flash burned white against the window, then vanished. For a second I just stood there, breathing too fast, my pulse in my ears. Whoever was out there didn't move. The gravel outside whispered, like footsteps shifting weight. I killed the studio lights, heart hammering, and peered through the slat in the blinds. Empty. The street glowed soft in the sodium lamps, A tumbleweed scraped the curb like a cliché that didn't care it was one. Then taillights. A black SUV easing away, slow, deliberate, no license plate visible. I exhaled. Half a laugh, half a swear. Great. Now I had paparazzi. Or worse. I sent a text to Maya. Me. Someone was taking photos outside my studio. Maya. Call the cops. Me. No proof yet. Just a feeling. I locked everything, twice, then collapsed on the couch with my laptop balanced on my knees. It was almost midnight, and I had a video call with Melina's team in 7 hours. But the word on that post-it enough kept buzzing behind my eyes like a mosquito that knew my blood type. The next morning, my phone lit up before the alarm. A text from an unknown number. Publicity's a tricky thing, Arden. Careful which storms you chase. No name, no emoji, just that. I took a screenshot, forwarded it to Melina, and shoved my phone face down on the table before it could say anything else. At 8 a.m., 5 little rectangles bloomed on my screen. Melina, Theo, and the other creators she'd recruited. They looked like a weird Justice League of creative chaos, tattooed hands, cluttered backgrounds, coffee cups in unison. Morning, Desert Queen, Melina said, all bright energy. We ready to test some truth? Ready, I said, though my throat was dry. Theo held up a package. Yours arrived. One real, one fake. The fake's already suspicious magnet stuck to it. Silver isn't magnetic, said Jules, the LA jeweler, rolling her eyes. Exactly, Theo said. We'll run the XRF in a minute. But first, I want visuals. He set both pendants under the camera. Even through the screen, the difference hit. Mine had this quiet depth, like light liked it better. The fake looked like it was trying too hard, glossy, perfect, dead. Melina whistled. She didn't even try to hide it. She thinks I'll back down, I said. You won't, Melina said. You're about to teach the internet how to smell lies. The test montage played out in real time. Theo aimed the spectrometer at the fake. Beep. Nickel alloy. Plated. At the real one. Beep. Sterling silver. 92.5% purity. Clean. The sound difference? Clear as glass. The weight? Mine sank heavier into the scale. And when Theo rubbed both on a silver polishing cloth, the fake left a grayish smear, the real one a clean shine. Melina leaned forward, eyes glowing. This is gold, no pun intended. We'll need context, I said. We don't say high noon yet, just a boutique. Got it, said Jules. We'll frame it as an educational series. Real versus fake, episode 1. Theo grinned. Number Stormgate, there's so much they K. The same splen. Please, no hashtags yet, I said, but couldn't help a small laugh. That night, while I edited my segment, my inbox pinged again. From Diego? Subject. Proof. Inside were 6 photos, work orders, each sheet labeled Project High Noon, divided by designer, Arden Vale. Under instructions, add AV mark per usual. Every photo stamped with Santa Rosa Casting's logo and date. I stared until the letters blurred. There it was, irrefutable evidence that they'd replicated my stamp and designs under false pretenses. I forwarded the files to Melina and added one line. We go live Thursday. She replied instantly. Hell yes. I'll cue the launch. Stay ready. Thursday came hot and dust-colored. I hadn't slept more than 4 hours. I spent the morning pacing my studio, checking my phone like a gambler watching a roulette wheel. At 10 a.m. Mountain Time, the first video dropped. Theo's post hit TikTok and YouTube Shorts simultaneously. Can you tell which silver piece is fake? Let's run a real authenticity test. Within an hour, it hit 500,000 views. By noon, Melina's version had 2.3 million. Comments exploded. Wait, boutiques sell fake local jewelry? Support small artists. Tagging every jewelry TikToker I know. The phrase authenticity test started trending. By 2 p.m., local Santa Fe news stations had picked up the clips. Headline: Influencers expose fake, handmade jewelry sold as local art. I watched it all unfold, like a thunderstorm, rolling across the desert. Slow, then sudden, then everywhere. My follower count tripled by sundown. Orders poured in through my Etsy shop faster than I could wrap wire. But not everyone was celebrating. High Noon locked their Instagram comments by evening. Their official account posted a statement. "We are aware of false accusations circulating online. All our products are made in collaboration with local artists and meet ethical sourcing standards." The comments ratioed them into oblivion. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt something colder, because winning on the internet doesn't mean winning in real life. And in real life, I still didn't have my Thunderbolt stamp back. Around 7 p.m., as the sun slipped behind the Sangre de Cristos, my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. "Nice show today," the text read. "But storms blow both ways." Before I could reply, another message arrived. This one, an image. A photo of my studio door. Tonight's light. Fresh. I stepped outside. The street looked empty, but I could feel eyes in the quiet. Behind me, my laptop dinged a notification from Melina's Discord group. "Theo, guys, High Noon's website just went dark. Jules, like 404 dark? Theo, gone. Domain suspended. Someone's panicking." I almost smiled until I noticed something on my doormat. A small velvet box. No note. I crouched, lifted the lid. Inside was my missing Thunderbolt stamp, but not as I remembered it. The handle was scorched, blackened, like it had been heated with a torch, and the tip my Thunderbolt was bent, twisted into something jagged, unrecognizable. I touched it once. It was still warm. Someone had returned it, but they'd made sure it could never stamp anything again. I felt that same metallic taste in my throat, the one that comes before tears or violence. This wasn't just about jewelry anymore. This was a message. I grabbed my phone and dialed Diego. He answered, whispering, "Arden, we need to talk, tonight." "What's wrong?" "She knows I sent the work orders," he said. "She fired me." And a loud bang cut him off. Something metallic hit the ground on his end. "Diego?" Static. Then, silence. I stood frozen in the middle of my studio, surrounded by half-finished pendants and desert quiet. My phone vibrated one last time. A text from Diego's number. "Meet me, midnight, Old Foundry off Cerrillos. Bring proof." I stared at the screen. If it was really him, he might have more evidence. If it wasn't, the wind outside picked up, rattling my shop sign against its chain. Either way, I knew one thing for certain. This storm was about to get louder. Midnight in the desert smells like rust and secrets. The air was thin, sharp enough to cut through fear, but not through the sound of my heartbeat. The old Cerrillos foundry sat like a skeleton under the half-moon, its roof half-caved, its windows long gone. I parked a block away, headlights off, and slipped the Thunderbolt stamp into my pocket. I kept thinking about Diego's voice before the line went dead. The bang. That metallic echo. I told myself he was fine. I told myself this was about evidence, not ghosts. But my gut had other opinions. The foundry doors groaned when I pushed them. Dust motes shimmered like ash in my flashlight beam. Inside, the air hung heavy with the smell of old iron and oil, the kind that clings to your tongue. "Diego?" I called. My voice came back smaller. No answer. The floor crunched under my boots, scrap metal, shards of glass, empty soda cans. I moved deeper, past a row of rusted machinery that looked like dinosaurs frozen mid-step. Something shifted near the back metal scraping concrete. "Diego?" I said again, louder. Then my light caught at a shape. A person sitting on a crate, head bowed. Relief hit so hard my knees went weak. "God, you scared me," I said, moving closer. "I thought—" He looked up. "Not Diego." A man in a black windbreaker, face hidden by a cap. "Where's Diego?" I demanded. He didn't answer, just extended something toward me. An envelope. I hesitated. My fingers brushed the paper thick, expensive. Inside, a stack of photos, my designs, my studio, me, through the window. And at the bottom, one picture of me walking into the foundry, taken moments ago. Who are you? I asked, backing up. The man said, you should have taken the deal. Then he turned and disappeared through a side door before I could move. By the time I reached the exit, he was gone. Outside, an engine roared to life, and tires spat gravel. I stood there shaking, clutching the envelope. Inside, one last page fluttered loose. A typed note. Storms pass, so do people who make them. Back in my car, I locked the doors and called Melina. She answered half asleep. Arden? What time is it? Something's wrong, I said, voice trembling. I went to meet Diego, he wasn't there. Someone else was. They're watching me. Her tone snapped awake. Did you get proof? Only this. I sent her a photo of the note. A long pause. Jesus, she whispered. You need to go to the cops. I wanted to. But cops don't chase stolen jewelry designs. They shrug. They say it's civil. They tell you to get a lawyer. This is bigger than small claims, she said. They're threatening you. I don't even know who they are anymore, I said. Callista's the face, but she's not smart enough to orchestrate this. Someone else is feeding her. Melina was quiet, thinking. There's one way to find out. Draw her out. How? We turn up the heat. The next morning, the story went nuclear. Theo had found a cached version of High Noon's deleted About page. It listed Calista Monroe as creative director, but under production partner, it named a corporation, Citrine Holdings LLC, based in Texas. Melina traced it back to a shell company that owned a dozen other boutique names, all selling handmade jewelry that looked suspiciously familiar. She called me immediately. Girl, we found your Hydra, she said. Citrine owns at least 7 stores. They're industrializing artisanal. I felt my stomach twist. So, I'm just one of dozens. Maybe. But you're the one with proof. That night, Melina posted a teaser reel to her 500K followers. Ever wonder who's behind your favorite local boutiques? Tomorrow, we show you the truth. By morning, Number Stormgate hit 10 million views. And with it, my phone lit up like fireworks. Reporters, podcasters, other artists with the same story. One message stood out, a DM from a jeweler in Taos. They copied my ring design last year. Same company. I went quiet. Don't you? I wouldn't. At noon, I got a call from a blocked number. Stop, Callista's voice hissed. You're ruining everything. You ruined yourself, I said. You built your brand on theft. You think you're some folk hero? Citrine will bury you in court. I'll make sure of it. Maybe, I said. But we're live in 15 minutes. What? I hung up. Melina had scheduled a live stream with all the creators, plus Theo holding the spectrometer like a weapon of science. We were broadcasting the entire breakdown metal analysis, receipts, work orders from Diego, and every photo of the fake stamp. When we went live, over 100,000 people tuned in. Theo started. We have definitive proof these pieces were cast under a counterfeit mark. Then Melina. This isn't just one boutique. It's a network pretending to sell authenticity while underpaying real artists or stealing their work outright. My heart galloped as I stepped into frame from my studio, holding up the melted Thunderbolt stamp. This, I said, voice trembling, was my mark. My mother made it. Calista took it. But this isn't just about me, it's about every artist who's ever been told their work is only valuable when someone else sells it. Chat exploded with Thunderbolt emojis. For once, the noise felt like music. Then my screen froze. Static. Melina? I said. Theo? No sound. A message flashed. Connection lost. My Wi-Fi light blinked out. I tried my phone. No signal. And then headlights swept across my window again, same black SUV. I grabbed my camera, hit record, and moved toward the door. The SUV idled, engine rumbling. Then, the passenger window rolled down. A white envelope landed on the gravel. Before I could react, the car peeled off, taillights vanishing into the desert. I picked up the envelope with shaking hands. Inside, no threats this time. Just a single cashier's check. $50,000. Memo line. Consider it closure. I stared until my eyes burned. $50,000 to walk away. They thought I could be bought. They still didn't understand what they'd stolen. I picked up the camera, turned it on myself, and hit record. This, I said, holding up the check, is what silence costs. I set it on fire in the sink. As the paper curled and blackened, my phone buzzed again. Melina was back online. Holy hell, she said. The stream cut, but the replay's up and trending. Arden, you're everywhere. CNN just called. I looked at the ashes in the sink and smiled, shaky, but real. Good, I said, because I'm not done yet. Behind me, the last of the smoke rose in a thin silver thread. Outside, thunder rolled real this time, not metaphorical. The storm was finally coming home. The thunder didn't wait for me to breathe. It rolled across Santa Fe like a verdict. By morning, every screen in my studio glowed with my own face. TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Clips of me burning the $50,000 check had looped a million times. Comments ranged from "queen behavior" to "she's gonna get sued." Both were probably true, but the truth had a way of multiplying. Melina sent me a link. The New Mexico Journal had published an exposé. Headline: Citrine Holdings under fire for selling counterfeit art. They'd interviewed other artists, Rocco from Taos, a potter from Albuquerque, even a silversmith in Tucson. All their stories matched mine. Every time someone came forward, a new layer peeled off the lie. By noon, High Noon Boutique had locked its doors. Paper covered the windows. Their website, their Instagram gone, but victory has an aftertaste. It tastes like adrenaline and emptiness. That afternoon, I drove downtown. The plaza was still full of tourists, their laughter floating like dust motes. I stopped in front of High Noon's door. Someone had spray-painted a single word across the paper: fake. Inside, I saw movement, a shadow crossing the showroom. Curiosity got the better of me. I pushed the door. It opened. The place was gutted. Jewelry racks overturned, boxes scattered, and in the center, standing among the wreckage, was Calista. She looked different. No makeup, no designer sneakers, just a woman with mascara smudged like war paint. You shouldn't be here, she said flatly. I could say the same. She laughed short, bitter. You won. This wasn't a game. Oh, it always is. She picked up a broken pendant from the floor, one of the fakes, and turned it in her hand. You think I built this? I was just the face. Citrine pays for the lights, the rent, the lawyers. You think I get to choose who they steal from? Then why do it? I asked. Because it worked, she said quietly. Until you. For a heartbeat, the anger drained out of me. She wasn't the monster, just the mask. Calista, I said, softer now. If you have proof, emails, contracts, anything, come forward. You can still fix something. She looked at me like she wanted to believe it. Then she tossed the fake pendant into a box. You don't get it, she said. They don't just own the designs. They own me. My lease, my inventory, my debt. You think a viral video scares them? You just made them angry. Then help me make them scared. Before she could answer, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, face going pale. Go, she whispered. Now. What? Go. I turned and ran. Outside, a black SUV rounded the corner, same one from before. By the time I reached my car, Calista was already locking the door behind me. I watched as the SUV parked outside. Two men in suits got out. One of them carried a clipboard. The other, a crowbar. I drove away shaking, adrenaline blurring the world. Melina called mid-turn. Where are you? I think Citrine's cleaning house, I said. They sent people. Then we need to go bigger, she said. If we can prove interstate fraud, selling counterfeit goods under false marks, it's federal. I've got a contact at a journalism nonprofit. They'll take it national. I gripped the steering wheel. Do it. 2 days later, a documentary segment went live on the Current Wire. Title: Handmade Lies, The Citrine Scandal. Footage from our live stream. Interviews with artists. Screenshots of work orders from Diego. A side-by-side of my silver versus the fake. And finally, a drone shot of High Noon's shuttered storefront under the monsoon sky. The story exploded. Within 24 hours, Citrine Holdings' website went offline. Their investor board announced an internal audit. Federal trade investigators confirmed an inquiry into counterfeit labeling and fraud. My inbox flooded again, but this time, it wasn't hate. It was gratitude. Artists from all over. Knitters, painters, ceramicists. You made them listen. You gave us proof. You reminded us to sign everything twice. That night, Maya and I sat on the roof of her studio, watching lightning flicker over the desert. I hadn't cried through any of it, but when the first fat raindrop hit the tin gutter, I finally did. Maya handed me a beer. You did good, kid. I don't feel good, I said. That's what truth feels like sometimes. I laughed through the tears. Below us, thunder rolled again, gentler this time, like applause from the mountains. But even then, I knew it wasn't over. Because every storm leaves something broken behind. And for me, it was more than just a burned stamp and a ruined name. It was the question echoing in my chest. When they take everything that proves you, how do you prove yourself again? 6 months later, Santa Fe smells like rain again. Tourists are back, new shops open, and my studio door carries a new sign. Veil Authentic. The Thunderbolt logo is different now, reborn. Sharper, cut from the jagged edges of the old one that Citrine melted. I call it the rebirth mark. Orders still pour in, but slower now, manageable. The kind of pace that lets me breathe and remember why I started. A letter arrived last week from U.S. Trade Commission. They'd concluded their investigation. Citrine Holdings found liable for counterfeit distribution, fined millions. Executives charged. Calista cooperated and avoided prison. She sent me a small package afterward. Inside, a piece of the fake cuff, twisted into a ring, and a note. For what it's worth, I'm making real things now. I put the ring on my shelf beside the original Thunderbolt stamp, what's left of it. Both reminders that sometimes destruction is just a different kind of forging. Melina and Theo launched a new series called The Maker's Proof. Each episode features a small artist showing how to spot fakes in their field. The intro uses a clip of me saying, "You can't mass-produce soul." I still blush every time I hear it. People think revenge feels like fireworks. It doesn't. It feels like metal cooling under your hand after the hammer stops. Like silence you've earned, revenge, I learned, isn't about hurting back. It's about reclaiming the part of yourself they tried to cheapen. I didn't ruin High Noon or Citrine. They ruined themselves when they forgot what authenticity sounds like. It sounds like this. The ring of real silver when it hits the table, pure, honest, unmistakable. I tilt one of my new pendants under the light. The thunderbolt catches the sun and throws it back brighter. My name Ardenvale means Valley of Eagles. Maybe that's fitting, because after the storm, you don't rebuild in the mud, you rise above it. I pack the last order of the day, tape the box, and write a note inside. Thank you for believing in real things. Outside, thunder mutters somewhere far away, not angry anymore, just alive. I smile, wipe my hands on my apron, and step out into the light.